So, I had an interesting discussion these days about Izaro, interestingly enough, especially in the context of Gauntlet, but the gist of the entire discussion with somebody that's quite knowledgeable about the game was, is it better to stand really close at Izaro or really far away? And what is like safer and more consistent? And I myself, for years, I'm standing really close to Izaro, and I was super sure that is absolutely the way to go. Other person wasn't really sure about that and basically had the opposite opinion. And within the discussion, you know, these moments where you kind of start questioning your own knowledge, you know, your own game knowledge and your own experience, and maybe I've just been lucky, right? Is this actually correct or not? So I went in, dug significantly deeper down to the actual mechanics and skills, and gave this whole thing a bit more of an actual test. And my conclusion is absolutely, you stand close to Izaro. And it's not even close. It's so much better. And this is going to be my attempt at either not convincing people, I mean, it doesn't matter what people actually think, but either helping out more people having safer Izaros or being told in the comments why I'm wrong. Like one of the two things might happen because maybe I overlooked something here. So also to preface this a little bit, and we're going to go to Izaro in a second, is this is only really relevant for the Gauntlet, right? Because outside of the Gauntlet, to be fair, nothing really deals damage, so you can't really die anyway, and yeah, it's like has limited usability outside of Gauntlet. Also outside of Gauntlet, you might encounter this with significantly less beefy characters, making the entire strategy a bit more questionable. So this is meant for Gauntlet, and this is also meant for beefy characters in the Gauntlet, because you need to be able to face tank Izaro with his basic attacks, right? His normal basic attacks, maybe the leap slam, things like that. You need to be able to tank these, because if you can't tank Izaro's melee hits, then this entire thing doesn't make sense. But in the sense of Gauntlet, if you cannot tank a Izaro melee hit, then it doesn't really matter, because you're gonna die somewhere anyway. So yeah. In this specific context, let's talk about Marauder specifically, because they're super tanky, and I have a Marauder here right now. I'm in a Gauntlet test league. This is not entirely the Gauntlet mods. What we are missing here is the physical damage, chaos damage, like physical as extra chaos damage is missing. They will have, I believe, a little bit more monster damage, I think 30% instead of 20, that's all fine. And there's also elemental penetration there. That's why I took a bunch of gear off. There's a random test character, so I have significantly less resistance here. I still have like 1.7k armor. So it's a beefy character that can tank some stuff, right? So this is Izaro, basically. And first of all, if you are in melee range, one of the issues with that, or perceived issues, is that you cannot really do the objectives, which in my opinion isn't really a big trouble, right? So basically you can just walk around the sky, and whenever you get the chance, right, you can attack the outside things. And I'm gonna clear them up, so we can basically do the things. This one can even, because it's a Marauder, it can even tank the slash, so it doesn't really matter. So what you already notice is that there are not too many abilities going off, and especially there is no green abilities going off. And I'm gonna explain to you in a second after I cleaned this. You can already see, like even if you just randomly, not very skillfully walk in a circle, you're not really getting hit that much in the first place. And you could even basically do this infinitely, right? Let him attack and move. Right? If you remember, at the very start of the game, there's a guy called Helek, which is pretty much the same, right? You can just basically have him attack and move all the time. And in between, if I'm trying to not hit him, you can even squeeze an attack out. And honestly, these slams are very, very slow attacks. I can basically do this infinitely, and so far I haven't hit him, which is one of the reasons why we're not seeing green things. Also notably, we are not seeing the mortar, because the only realistic way how you're gonna die in Gauntlet against Izaro is being hit by the mortar. That's like super dangerous, and some very squishy characters, but as long as you're Marauder, you're not dying to the slash here either, and you're not dying to the melees. One interesting thing about Izaro is, it's actually two bosses. You have this dude here, this Izaro, and you have the green Goddess of Justice, I believe, floating above him. And that is a very different character. It's basically a second boss. And the evil abilities, right, this mortar actually come from the Lady of Justice or Goddess of Justice or whatever. So the one we are scared of is the mortar. The mortar shoots, I think, baseline 7 projectiles plus 2 from the Gauntlet mod, so you are dealing with like 9 projectiles that all deal a lot of damage. And the ability itself does not have a cooldown. And I think I like a 1 second cast time. I'm gonna run out of last charges at 10 points, so I need to stop getting hit here. And yeah, so much about that. It doesn't have a cooldown, so it means as soon as I move away from Izaro, she's gonna shoot them. Let's try that for a second. She's gonna give me these mortars here, and Izaro is gonna jump at me and doing a lot of like random things. So basically, as soon as you're away from Izaro, you deal with this extra ability. And I know you're already thinking, I've been close to Izaro and there has been the same ability. And we're gonna get to that in a second, because that's actually wrong. It's not the same ability. There are 2, they just look really, really similar. Especially if you notice here, she's doing green balls, but there are no skeletons spawning. And that's because they are 2 completely different abilities. So basically, as soon as you're away from him, which you also might need to do because of these extra objectives, right? Because not every objective can be cleared from afar. In my opinion, typically you get close to him, right? And then you can do the Hellock thing. You can also basically attack him, right? But as soon as you move away from Izaro or whatever objective, you cannot attack. Do not attack lock, right? Or animation lock yourself. You do what you need to do, you click it or whatever, and you're always ready to move. There's no attacking, do not animation lock yourself. Like basically, let's do something here. Okay, wait for an ability, let's go back to Izaro. And we go back into the motion, and you're back into a safe place, right? So this only happens, this ability, the mortar ability, which has like 7 projectiles plus 2, so 9 heavy damage projectiles, only happens if you're far away from Izaro, or specifically the goddess, to be fair. She doesn't do that. As soon as I move again, instantly be ready for that specific attack, and she does it, and there's basically no cooldown. She's like constantly doing that. So, as said, if you move away, do not attack, no animation locking, just look at the abilities and be ready to dodge at any moment, go back to safety, and you can attack him. The second ability, that's the one that scares people because they look the same, but they are not. Only, of course, if you basically damage Izaro a little bit. Then at some point he will start doing this like second ability. And that one, there it is. That's a different ability. So that one looks scary, right? Because, you know, it's shooting stuff. And if that hits you, you're gonna die, right? Interestingly enough, you're not. Because it is not 9 projectiles, it's actually more projectiles. But it's 6 times... it's 6 waves of projectiles. Let me try to not kill Izaro here. It's gonna be a bit difficult. It's 6 sets of projectiles, each of them 3 of them. So if you're incredibly unlucky and move into them, if you're close to Izaro, they cannot hit you, even with this extra. It has a minimum range of like 25 or something, and the mortar has 15, by the way. It has this minimum range, so it can't really hit you. And even if it does, if you move really weirdly, maybe you get hit by 3 of them, maybe 6 if you like walk in a straight line into multiples of them. It could technically happen. Even then, each of these projectiles, let me kill them real quick. So you have seen enough of the entire thing. So the second ability is a summon skeleton ability, right? And as that, it fires 6 sets of, in this case, 3 projectiles, because we have the Gauntlet mods of +2, right? Each wave, each of the 6 waves, or 7 waves in total, I believe, maybe, has 3 total projectiles. One of the summon skeleton projectiles deals roughly a quarter of the damage compared to a mortar projectile. Both of them are fire, so none of the plus chaos applies here. So the skeleton things only deal like a quarter of the damage. So even getting hit by 3 of the skeleton ones, like one of these full sets that are spread randomly around in the room, getting hit by 3 of them is only 75% of the damage compared to getting hit by a single actual mortar ability. right? So even if you get hit by 6 skeleton projectiles, which doesn't happen at the same time, they're always one after each other, so you can half flask in between. That is essentially 6 of them is less damage than only 2 of the 9 barrage kind of thing. So they are significantly less scary. They look the same, right? And you might be scared of them, but they don't do damage. That's the interesting part. They just don't do anything compared to the actual mortars. So that means as soon as you're fighting Izaro here, as long as you're staying in melee range, you basically cannot die to Izaro, because he has no ability that kills a marauder with decent equipment. Doesn't matter if you're on your way to be a juggernaut, or if you're on your way to be a chieftain, for example, or honestly, if you're playing anything remotely tanky, which you should in the Gauntlet anyway, there's no ability that either Izaro nor the goddess have that can actually kill your character realistically in a Gauntlet scenario. It just doesn't exist. The only thing you can realistically die to are the mortars, and the mortars do not happen if you're in melee range. If you need to leave the melee range, the only thing you need to do is stop attacking and 100% focusing on movement and going back into the actual melee range. Also, the one with the skeletons, by the way, has like a 20-second cooldown, I believe. So it doesn't happen all that much. You can maybe look in the video, actually. You should probably see how often it's occurring. And it only occurs after you deal some damage, which in a realistic scenario doesn't really matter because you're actually going to damage him, right? You're not going to walk around. It's interesting enough with that is, since they don't happen until you deal damage to him, you have a significantly more time by just not damaging Izaro. Depending on the build, it's a bit hard. Sometimes he just takes damage. And you can clean up things on the outside. As I said, sometimes you have to move outside, right? You have to go here and click something like a charge disruptor maybe, or something else. Or maybe you need to go out to damage something. That's like the worst case, but doesn't really exist. It's a bit bad with Thunder if you get these ladies that you need to damage constantly. That's a bit difficult, right? You need to kind of do this, right? Get like Izaro in between and then hit this one and then hit this one. So that's a bit annoying. But if you're a different character, like a brand character, for example, they're very popular. You just put one brand on each of them. That is kind of fine. Everything else can be done essentially from the middle. The lieutenants, for example, it's a bit hard to not damage him at the same time, but should also be possible. Basically, all the abilities, all the mechanics can be played easily while you're basically circling Izaro. If you have to get out, which also happens in the last room if he does the teleport, right? I mean, there's no reason to get teleported, right? If the teleport is there, you just move out and you know there's mortars coming. So you can do this really big circle, wait until the teleport is over, maybe wait for one more mortar so you're safe, go back in and fight the dude. Maybe if the portal comes again, you can move out, you stop attacking, don't animation lock yourself, and then you can go back in essentially, and that's makes it almost impossible to die to Izaro. And now you can essentially tell me why I'm wrong, or you maybe learned something. If you want to use that in the Gauntlet and you haven't done that before, Gauntlet isn't really the space where you try this for the first time. So maybe get a character up until Act 3 real quick and you can try it in the first lap for a little bit. Also same thing, by the way, in case you don't know, if he has different weapons, he does different abilities. There's also the one with a slam, like the big slam, but he needs to have a hammer for that. So I can show you today, because today is double sword day apparently. You cannot tank the slam typically, so I would definitely move out of that. But same thing, he's gonna raise his weapon. You just move out, and you moved out, so you're gonna be super ready for there might be a mortar coming immediately, and I believe these two bosses can attack independently, so you might get mortared. You let him slam, and then you can go essentially maybe around, wait for another mortar until it's safe, go back in, and you basically can't die to this dude here. Last side note, the slam actually deals more damage compared to the center, like typically slam abilities do if they clip you. Or some of them at least, or at least the Izaro one does. If you like straight up in the center, it deals like almost double damage. So be a little bit careful with that. But yeah, hopeful this is helpful. And yeah, let me know why I'm wrong or not, or don't. Yeah, cool. Bye.